Hello travelers, welcome to another building tutorial. Today is going to be a guide about freighter-based building, post-endurance update. If you're new to the game, a returning player, or just new to freighter building in general, the beginner section is a great place to start. If you're looking for something more than just a functional freighter, such as freighter city layout design, look to the intermediate section. If you're looking for stuff which goes beyond the normal game mechanics, such as freighter glitch building, or how to remove freighter building restrictions, I will have a separate video for that. The latest endurance update focuses on freighter overhauls. If you are a new or returning player, you might be wondering, what's so important about getting a freighter and building on it? Let's talk about what freighters can offer you. Freighters act as mobile bases you can summon in space. Much like planet bases, they offer you the ability to refine materials, build storages, and plant, well, plants. Before Endurance, while a freighter is in the same system as you, they offer several additional features. With a meta beam installed, you can access your freighter and storage inventory from anywhere within the system. With an exocraft summoning room installed, you can summon any unlocked exocraft within the system. Installing fleet command rooms allows you to send frigates to complete daily missions for rewards. Lastly, freighters have a more efficient hyperdrive warp. They are both further and more fuel efficient. If you have an S-Class freighter and 6 S-Class hyperdrive upgrades, your hyperdrive efficiency can be increased to infinite, meaning there is no longer a hyperdrive cost. After the Endurance update, a freighter still offers these features, with some additions. Installing a scanner room allows you to scan all planets within the system the moment you warp into a new system. Installing stellar extractor rooms allows automatic material production based on the current system's star type. Each of the recruitable NPCs now have a dedicated room. And finally, we now have unrestricted refinery room placement. Unlike planetary bases, you are no longer restricted to 5 refiners. So, are you now excited to turn your freighters into mobile bases? Let's start talking about freighter base building. The first thing you need to do is to unlock all of this fancy tech you want to use on the freighters. Go to the bridge and find this console. Open up the menu and you'll see a list of freighter upgrades. Tag such as the meta beam is located here. Proceed to the next tab and you'll see a list of freighter rooms you can unlock. Just remember, you'll need salvage frigate modules to unlock all of these. Apart from the rooms, there's several buildables you can add to your freighter. You may unlock these items in the anomaly. Here's a list you may find useful. Once you're ready to start building on your freighters, here's a list of things you should take note of before you start. In general, items are automatically powered on freighters, but items need to be connected to rooms, and rooms need to be connected to the bridge in order to receive power. There are also limitations to placeable items on freighters. There are ways around the limitations, but they involve glitch building or using mods. I will cover this in another video. You have a very large freighter build area. It is 21 by 19 by 15 rooms. Don't worry about running out of space, you are in space after all. You may also reset your freighter base at any time, but you won't get back the materials unlike manually deleting objects. Some of the rooms have selectable variants, most notably the corridors and industrial room. Finally, you can change the color of rooms. It is done the same way you would change the color of base objects. With all that said, I will now cover an extremely simple and functional layout for your freighter. Note that you will need short-range teleporters and its teleporter cable unlocked for this. You will separate the freighter into 3 areas and proceed to build them on top of each other. The 3 areas are the tech room, the industrial room, and the agricultural room. The end result will be highly modular, easy to expand, and allows quick access to all rooms. First, reset your freighter base and delete the 2 corridors in front. Next, select variants on corridor and select straight corridor. Form a T-junction. Place teleporters on both sides. This acts as access to other floors. Begin adding all of your tech rooms to the next room. You would want your scanner room to be as close to the bridge as possible, as well as 5 fleet command rooms. Your end result should look something like this. Once you're done with the tech room, go back to the first corridor and add a ladder to go upwards. You should now place an industrial room to the front and add a straight corridor to the left side. This acts as a teleporter access to the ground floor. Add a teleporter here and connect it down below. If you wish to mark the teleporter, add 2 orange wall panels to the side. It is now time to build your industrial area. Add refiners in front. Remember, there's no limit to the number you can build. If you want stellar extractors, add a couple of them on the left side. However, I don't suggest having them at the moment as they are quite buggy, though they might already have been fixed by the time you're watching this video. Place your 2 NPCs here on the right side of the refiner area, and don't forget the exocraft materializer. Now it's time for the final bit. Add your storages on the right side. Alright, you completed your industrial area. Now it is time to move to the final area. Go back to the corridor and add a ladder to go up. The same as before, build an empty bioroom right in front. But build a straight corridor on the right this time. Place the teleporter in there and then connect it down below. Now, place your nutrition room and your I'm just gonna call him a florist. Place them on the left side. If you don't like the idea of walking back, place a teleporter here for a quick return. Now it's time to build the planter area. You want a central corridor with planter areas on both sides. Due to power issues with freighters, you will want to connect every planter with an empty room. This is what your planter area will look like. All we do now is to copy this planter area and place them along the central corridor. I will show the full footage of this, but I will speed up the video. Well, not like I haven't been speeding it up already. Anyways, here's the rest of the agriculture area. Okay, now we are almost done with our agricultural area. All that's left is to add a teleporter that goes back to the front. Now that we are done with this area, head back to the first corridor and add green wall panels to mark the teleporter. Finally, the last step would be delete the ladders and you are done. And there you have it, a simple, functional freighter that you can complete in under 10 minutes. We'll now be moving on to the intermediate section, so do stick around if you want to know more. Now, you're the aspiring builder who wants something more than just a simple, functional freighter. Well, this section will have you covered. Here's a list of what's been covered in this section. We already touched on vertical building in the previous section, so let's go into that first. Every freighter has a build area of 21 by 19 rooms. But did you know it also extends 15 rooms upwards? That's 14 times more space you're wasting if you're only using the lowest floor. So, how would we go about getting rooms to use more vertical space? We can attach stairs or ladders to open up more vertical space. But what are we going to do with all that vertical space if all the rooms are a single floor only? It's time to talk about building big open areas on your freighters. Let's look at these 2 exterior items. By attaching them to any room or corridor and then adding a door, you're now able to build outside of your freighter. This now opens up open space building for you. But what if you don't like the idea of being exposed to space? Well, I got just the thing for you. We can surround the open area with corridors to wall it off. Make a ceiling with exterior platforms on top, and now you have a large enclosed open space. These 3 techniques are the basis of intermediate freighter building. With large open areas, you now have a much wider range of options when it comes to freighter building. You can design anything from multi-story engine rooms, open storage areas, to even entire freighter cities. It is very easy to go overboard once you start for intermediate freighter building. So before you actually rush off to do anything and make mistakes, here's some important information you need to know. Based on currently known freighter designs, I like to give freighter base builds three classifications: the ship class, the city class, and the monument class. The ship class, as the name says, stays true to the freighter nature. They're designed to feel like ships, and the entire interior is generally enclosed. City class, on the other hand, are, well, cities. With endurance, NPCs spawn in freighter rooms you place. This allows builders to design freighter cities with NPCs moving around and interacting with objects. The current norm seems to be cyberpunk cities, but you could always try to build a fantasy city instead. Monument class are the strange ones. At the time of this guide's creation, there has yet to be a real monument class. They boil down to making fanciful designs that don't fall into ship or city class. An example would be making a giant robot or atlas structure while having all of the functional rooms inside. They will require a lot of glitch building, so we wouldn't be covering them. Personally though, I would love to see them. So, why would build classification even matter? It sounds boring and irrelevant. Why can't we just build as we go? Well, it comes down to three things: functionality, NPC pathing, and object rendering. Let's first talk about functionality. A ship class will have room sections that go beyond just tech, industrial, botanical areas, while a city class will generally have interactable rooms designed as shops or houses. Whichever you choose to build, always ask yourself this question: am I going to enjoy walking through this every time I need to use the rooms? Just imagine your scanner room is placed at the furthest end of the ship. Every time you warp to a new area, you will have to run down your entire ship to get to it. That will get very old very fast. You could try placing teleporters, but that presents its own set of problems. I will cover this later in object rendering. The second bit will be NPC pathing. With Endurance Update, freighter rooms placed will now spawn NPCs in them. This part is mainly for people who want a city class. If you're building a ship class, you only have one thing to consider. You don't want NPCs getting stuck in teleporters and jamming them. To solve this, either place your teleporter right up against the wall, or place an extra straight corridor that isn't connected to anything with your teleporter in there. Now, if you're looking to build cities, that is where things get interesting. NPCs will path between rooms and prioritize rooms of the same type on the same floor. You can separate similar room types, such as refiner and storage rooms, and place them at different locations on the ship. If you provide an unblocked path for them, NPCs will start walking between them. This adds a breath of life to your city, with NPCs constantly traveling around your city. A couple of things to note: they do not spawn in corridors but can walk through them. They will path through any corridor, room, or exterior platform as long as there is sufficient space for them to maneuver. They will prioritize moving between the same room type, but will occasionally visit others. Don't count on it though. They will also prioritize moving on the same level, but will very rarely use stairs to travel. Again, don't count on it happening in your design. Lastly, there is a limited number of 24 NPCs that can spawn at any one time. They can spawn in different rooms every time you reload the area, so every reload will be different. Finally, we come to object rendering. This section determines how large you can comfortably build your freighter base. It will have massive differences based on your PC or console specs. It will never be a "this is what's going to happen," so this will only be a few guidelines and tips to note. You would probably already know this, but big bases can take a long time to load. Some of them don't ever load properly at all. The same issue applies to freighters. However, with freighters there is another layer of danger. You can easily get stuck in walls and require safe reloads. Apart from hardware, rendering issues are mainly caused by two reasons. If you have heavily decorated rooms, you can easily encounter rendering issues. Telltale signs are your freighter lights start flickering or the distance looks unrendered. This is doubly so if you build vertically and try to stack these rooms on top of each other. Distance to rendered objects become an issue with very big builds, especially cities. You might not be able to see the end of rooms or entire parts of your city. Another game-breaking issue would be trying to use teleporters from one end of the ship to the other. It is highly likely that doing so will trap you in the ground as the freighter parts have yet to load in. To avoid these issues, you will want to keep heavily detailed areas away from each other. Pay special attention to building in a vertical direction, and don't build too far away such that objects start to de-render. To wrap up the intermediate section, let us talk about freighter city layouts. This has been a much requested tutorial on layout planning for freighter cities. Looking back at what was covered in the section so far, your city will need to be functional, allows NPCs to path throughout, and is both small enough to render properly, but big enough to actually be a city. The first thing to consider is if you want an exposed or enclosed city. In general, an enclosed city looks nicer, but an exposed one is easier to complete. However, I will be basing the following planning on the Dreamless and Dreaming cities I've completed, both of which belong in the enclosed category and follow a similar layout. For an enclosed city, your very first room should be a corridor. You'll want to expand this horizontally to create the enclosure. Take note not to use rooms, NPCs can spawn in them. You wouldn't want to expand too much due to rendering distance, so horizontally, your open area will only be 3 to 5 rooms long on both sides. The next part will be to build the open area. Taking functionality into account, if you have a second floor to your city, you would want to immediately have stairs leading upwards. This is due to two reasons. You would want quick access to the second level, and stairs take up a lot of space, so you wouldn't want them to obstruct your rooms. Next, considering functionality, you would want your scanner room to be as close to the bridge as possible. Ideally, you should be able to quickly access it after these two compulsory areas, or at least close enough to place a teleporter without encountering rendering issues. This part will be solely based on the two cities. For both cities, I wanted a large open square. For the Dreamless city, I elevated the scanner room, expanded the holograph, and sunk it below the room to create the skylight for the square below. For the Dreaming City, I left the scanner room on the first floor, but I built the Sakura Tree Memorial Square on top of it instead. For both designs, there was sufficient space given for NPCs to still path through the square. Let's move on to the other functional room layouts. To get the most of functionality, you would want to have rooms you regularly use as close to the bridge as possible. To get the most out of NPC pathing, you would want to separate rooms of the same category. And finally, to get the most out of rendering distance, you'll want to embed your functional rooms into the enclosure. Following this logic, this was the layout that eventually came about. As you can see, both cities follow the same functional room layout. This was how I designed my freighter city and the thought processes that went into it. I hope this will help you if you're looking to build a freighter city. With that, we have come to the end of the guide. There will be a part 2 which contains the advanced section of freighter base building. This second video will talk about freighter glitch building methods and how to remove freighter build limitations. If you are looking to build a Titan 4 bay in your freighter and are unsure how to do so, please look forward to the next video. Lastly, if you liked my video, do remember to like and subscribe. It would really help me out. Until next time.